video for the week. There's a lot of content here, so make sure you pause, rewind, replay it as many times as you need to. Let me talk a little bit about the field first. I have the field divvied into grids. So there are a lot of coaches who train in grids, and the simple reason for that is just to break the field down so that you can understand the grid more in smaller spaces than just a half and a half or maybe even a whole field. For the purposes of this video, I want you to see where people or players are in relationship to some of these grids. I think that's going to help out with our spacing, our angles, and just overall some tactical understanding of the game. So I broke the field down for you so that you can visually see it maybe a little better and understand it a little better. If you notice, this half of the field is in red, this half of the field is in blue. This half of the field is in red because that's our defensive end, right? That's our half of the field, so we split that field into 2, 4, and 6. And if you look at the field, I drew this field proportionate to what we would see on like a real actual soccer field. So if you look at to see, how I split the lines up, you can almost use the natural markings on the soccer field to say, okay, I see this is 1/3, this is another third, this is another third here, and you take those thirds and then you split them up. So you have this backside and front side, backside, front side, backside, front side. And the same up here. Now the reason why I drew this grid in blue is because this is our offensive end. And I think that's really important to kind of distinguish the two because we play differently, and our goals and our strategy is going to be a little bit different getting into this part of the field. And there are certain players that are becoming a little bit more active. They become activated, so to speak, once we get into the blue zone. So hopefully all this will kind of help you understand a little bit more what our type of play is going to look like. So I'm going to start off with who is playing where. And also note that we are playing a little bit different formation. So instead of like a 3-2-3, we're going to play a 3-1-3-1. All right? So I have this is our kickoff. So if we have the ball and we're kicking off, this is what I want us to look like. 7 is Charlotte and Michaela. Addison is Kate. 11 is Addison and Kate. 8 is Liv. 9 is Emerson or Lauren. 6 is Hannah. 2 is RJ and Alexis. 3 is Mila. And 4-5 is Emerson or Lauren. So Emerson and Lauren, you guys are either center back or center striker. I'll be playing you on and off, switching out. So just know that. Okay, so when we kick off, I want my 8 and my 9 here. I want my 6 back here as a support option if we decide to go back. I want my 7s and my 7 and my 11 wide. And I want my 2 and my 3, if you notice kind of where they are in relationship to the grids. I want them I don't want them tucked back here. I want them kind of up and in this space here. So that if the 6 needs to get rid of it, if we do drop the ball back and the 6 needs to get rid of it, we can have an option here really quickly or an option here really quickly. Okay? There's basically 2 ways that I want us to work the kickoff. They're really simple. The first thing that my 8 and 9 need to do before the whistle blows is get together for 3 seconds and say, okay, which side are we going to go to? And then that's going to determine where the ball's going to go. We're going to right away we want a long ball. I want a long ball to one of the corner pockets. Okay? So that means we're activating the 7 or we're activating this 11 right away. All right? So it's going to look something like this. 9 touches it to 8. 8 sees the open space here and tries to do a nice long ball and then activating 7, and then we're a nice penetrating pass getting in further into our attacking area, okay? Now, if we wanted to switch it, it would go 8, drops it, touches it to 9, 9 activates, this activates 11, 11 is staying wide and seeing that we're going to go and we're going to give a nice long ball here, and that's going to put you into this area here, okay? So that's one way of starting the kickoff, okay? The other way we could do is drop back to 6. So 8 and 9 have those decisions. They actually have 3 decisions: to drop it back, to activate the left side, the number 11, or to activate the right side, number 7. Simple. If they drop it back, that's the third option, okay? Then what our plan is to build, right? So if they drop it back right away, I need my 9 to get up on top, ball side. So if my number 6 decides to drop it to 2, 9, you're shifting over in front of the last defender, ball side. If my 6 decides to drop it to the number 3, my number 9 is shifting over in front of the last defender, ball side here. Okay? My 11 gets back and wide because she's activated. This number 6 is activated. This number 4 is activated because those are all passing options. Okay? And this number 8 is getting up and in here like this. Okay? Notice I have a grid here. We potentially have 3 players in this grid. I have 1 player in my offensive grid. I got 1 player back here in the back middle grid. I have my number 6 taking up this grid, and I have my 2 and my 7 here. Okay? And if actually at this point, if my number 3 has the ball, then my 2 might want to slide back down into this grid here. And the reason for that is if my 3 feels the need to support again, then right away, anytime we support back through the middle, we're going to look to switch the field, okay? So, and we want you not up here necessarily, but as here and then dropping back wide here so she can get it to you here so that we can quick attack through the opposite side, okay? So again, starting positions here, 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 and here. If we decide to drop back to number 6, my number 6 is going to look to pass it off to my number 2 or my number 3. All right? 2 here. Let's say she passes it off to 2 here. My number 9 gets ball side. We just talked about that. My number 8 also gets ball side. And my number 6 is hanging back here like this. And my number 4 is dropping back ball side. So my number 9 and my number 9 and 4, 5, however you want, what number you want to use, is also dropping back kind of ball side as well, so that if there's that support option needed. Okay, so what happens at this point? All right. So what happens at this point? Well, at this point, number 2 has a couple options. Number 2, we can look for that outside wing, okay? I would say that's probably our first option. So number 2, your first option is here. If not, can we find the 6 or the 8 through the middle here, all right? So those are your 1, 2, 3 options, really, okay? And if you have really, really high pressure, don't forget you can go back. All right, so let's say she goes to the number 7. Now, we're getting into this territory here. This is where 8 has to become really activated because we're entering into our offensive attack here, okay? My number 6 is still staying somewhat activated, right? But my number 2 is highly activated because you're the support pass. My 8 is activated and my 9 is activated for sure. So basically how we're going to penetrate the defense is a couple simple passes that we have worked on in futsal, actually. So we are either going to go, let's say she's here, okay? Let's say she leaves her player here to now, we can go down the line here, and that's a diagonal run here. So down the line, diagonal run, that puts us and the ball behind the defender, okay? And now we have a chance to go, okay? So that's going to be your first option. If not, if this number 9 is not activated, or not active, but not open, then let's say this 6 player is coming to now defend you. Well, that leaves this 8 player open. So now we pass through the middle. Okay? So those are our options there. You can also do a quick give and go. So let's say this player is leaving here, but she's also open. She's kind of comes back here, opens up. We can do a quick 1-2. 1, 2. And the way we place the ball is towards the corner of the field into this space behind the defender, right? We don't want to just do this. Okay, we want to get in behind the defender if we can. So a quick 1-2 there. So number 7 has a couple options. Number 8 has an option. Number 9 as in down the line. Okay, or number 9 as in a quick give and go. But that number 7, if they're going to do a give and go, then they have to, the magic word is 1-2. Okay? So those are options there. If let's say my number 9 gets it, by number 9 you have options. You can do the give and go with the 7, or you can quickly drop it back to this 8. Now notice my 8 is becoming very activated right now because we're in this half of the field. My 4, my 5 are gonna, or my 4, 5 is gonna push up and in, and my 2, 3 is gonna push up and into space like this. Okay? They're not gonna hang back like this. They can't. They have to push up and into space like this. Okay? Alright. So my number 9 has an option, like I said, of doing a give and go. Or my number 9 has an option to drop it back to my 8. If it drops back to my 8, my number 8 position, which is Liv, there's a reason why this 3 and 11 are staying wide. Now, if my number 8 receives the ball and the weak side players 3 and 11 are now becoming activated, okay? So now we're going to activate you, and my 6 is becoming activated as well as a support option, another support option. But what I would like to do is, my 11 you see is staying wide, my 3 is staying wide as well, but dropping back. Notice where they are in relationship to the grids. Okay, this, by her staying wide, hopefully pulls her out a little bit like this. But what that does is leaves this whole lane open. So if my 8 gets it, I really want you guys to work on, Liv, switching the field of play. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So if my 9 has an option to either, well, 3 options, to either turn, nice, good, quick touch turn with the ball, okay, and attack goal, right? Or give and go with the 7, that's your second option, or drop it back really quickly for my 8, so that my 8 can then release it down here, long ball here, which is going to activate this number 11. Okay, so that's really important for this 11 to stay activated, because that's when my number 8 gets it. That's the pass that we're looking for, is this nice long deep pass here. All right. So my number 8 gets it. My 11's like, okay, I know what could potentially happen here, because this is our first pass option. This is what we want as our first pass option. All right, it's this nice deep ball here. Notice we're going to the corner flag, and then she's making this run here. All right. Now, what happens if the 3 is pushed in like this? Okay, and we can't get that ball there. Well, then we have an option. The 6 can hang back a little bit like this, right? We don't want the 6 and the 8 necessarily on the same playing line, right? Okay, so if 8 is up in this grid, which she should be at this point because we're attacking, the 6 can drop back into here. But what I would like, and be a passing option to 8, or a supporting option to 8. 4 is kind of creeping in here, and 2 is right here, because now we have a nice triangle or diamond here. But remember I said this 3 needs to be activated, and this 3 on the weak side is one of those runs and passes that not a lot of players see. Okay, and we haven't seen this pass yet this whole year, so I'm trying to activate this player out back in the back too as well. So if my 8 gets the ball, my 11 makes the run, and let's say the 3 goes with her or does this, cutting off that pass. Well, now all of this opens up right here for my 3 to come in, right? And almost act like as an 11. So now this activates. That's why I said when my 8 gets the ball, my 3 and 11 need to be activated, okay? So my 3 needs to look to get into space and call the ball so that my 8 can pass it here, All right, so if my 11 moves out of her space, so she's wide, 8 gets the ball. All right, she's wide. 8 gets the ball here, says, okay, I can't make this pass here, but my 11's making this run maybe here. Okay, well that activates this 3 here. So see, now she's in, and now we give this pass here. All right. So now we have an opportunity for this 3 to dribble into space, right? Time and space here. If not, notice my number 9. If this happens, all right, the 8 passes to the number 3. My 9 cannot stay here. My 9 has to move this way and get in front. Okay? You will be our passing option. So now we have kind of the same situation. My 4 pushes over here. All right? My 8, notice something. My 8 is going to push over because we're trying to get into this part of the grid. My 6 is going to potentially move over, yes, here. Okay? My 2 is going to move over here. My 7 is going to stay wide. All right? So my 8 went from here to now passing it over here and coming here. All right? My 3 has the ball. She can either, 1, attack this space, and as soon as a defender commits, lays off the ball to another player that's open. All right? Otherwise, we're here. What options does she have? Well, she has in the middle here. She has my number 9 here. She has my number 11 here. We can do the same thing on this side as on this side. 3 gets the ball here, 8's here, 6 is here. All right? Now we have a couple options here. She can attack, and as soon as this defender comes here, she can place the ball down the line, right? She could, let's see, place the ball here, or come up and shoot, right? If she gives the ball here, now we're kind of in that same position, right? She's going to back up, she's going to keep that diamond shape, right? My 8's going to come up and in. My 6 is going to now, because we're getting into this final here, my 6 is going to come in like this. My 4 is going to come in like this. My 2 is going to come in like this. My 7 is going to get high and wide like this. Okay? Stretching out that field. Now, this is the same situation that we found ourselves in. There's 3 bones here. On the other side. So, my outside has the ball. She can go in, right? Or she can lay the ball off here for a diagonal run here. She can do a quick give and go with my number 9 here. Okay? So it's the same options as what we had over here. Alright? So my number 11 and my number 7, you guys really have the options of down the line balls, give and go ball, okay? Seeing my 8, right? If you pass it back to my 8, who becomes activated on the weak side? My 2 and my 7, right? Because that's what just happened. We just played that scenario over on this side. So if my 8 has the ball, right? My 2 and my 11 are out wide like this. My 8 is going to look to do what? Long ball through here, behind the defenders. So long ball through, behind the defenders for my 7 to come on. All right? Maybe that pass is not there. So maybe my 2 comes in like this, and my 6 is kind of like this, right? The last thing we want is my 6 and my 8 to be in the same line together. We can't have that. My 6 and my 8 need to really be not on the same line and opposite of each other, okay? Opposite and opposite. So opposite this way, right? And opposite this way. All right, so now my 2 can become activated as well, and now we look for the 2 pass here, and now we can counterattack on this side as well. Or let's say the 2 gets immediate pressure. We can pass it back to my 6, which then we can, start over again. Again, my 9 is constantly shifting, right, to ball side. So that should give you an idea of how we're going to want to play our offense, okay? Okay. So let's say we don't have the ball. And it's a kickoff for red. This is what I would like to see. I'd like to notice that my 4 or 5 is pushed up high here, okay? Notice my 3 and my 2 are up and in a little bit, okay? And notice we're kind of condensing all the players to the middle. That's key, all right? So red is going to kick off the ball. I have my 6, my 8, my 9, my 11, and 7. Notice my 11 and 7 are not necessarily on the line, but they're just a little off the line. You guys are going to go ahead and put pressure on that outside if they pass it to the outside. My 6 is going to hang back through the middle. Let's say they pass the ball back. Most teams do. They pass the ball back. My 9 and my 8 are immediately going to put pressure through the middle. Okay, my 9 is going to, between my 9 and my 8, I'm going to put pressure, but one of you then is going to need if one of you puts pressure on the ball, then the other one needs to anticipate the next pass. Because the last thing we want to do is allow them to dribble through the middle. So between my 6, 8, and 9, you have to be careful to make sure that someone's got to put pressure on the ball, and 2, the people through the middle, the other 2 through the middle need to pick up the next pass, right? So the idea is to apply pressure quickly and don't force them to pass out, and that's fine. That's where my number 7 gets in, all right? And then my number 9 shifts over, my 8 and my 6 shift over, all right, like that. Okay, so that's what I want to do on the defensive end for a kick. Now let's talk about goal kicks. My number 4, 5 position is here. That's going to be Lauren or Emerson. My number 2 position is going to be RJ, Alexis here. Hannah, you're here. Liv, you're here. Charlotte or Michaela, you're here. Emerson, Lauren, you're here. Addison and Kate, you're here. Mila, you're here. All right, kickoff. Let's say the goalie decides to kick the ball off here. My 4 and 5 is going to be right outside the box here. All right, we're going to do a simple pass. When it's a goal kick, our objective is to get it to the 4 and 5 here, or the outside backs here. So in this case, the number 2. Okay, that's our objective. So we're going to go here. As soon as we go here, we want to go out to the outside. As soon as we go to the outside, this number 2 has 2 options, all right? That's RJ and Alexis. You can either go down the line to your 7, who's open, okay? Open, not here. That's not where my 7 should be. Here, open. Or you can cut it back and bring it back into the middle to my 6. It depends on who's open, and it's got to be quick. Now, if we go into my number 6, that's Hannah. Hannah, you need to make sure that you release that ball quickly. Because when we play a 3-1-3-1, a lot of times through the middle, you're going to have those 2 center mids. Okay? So we want to be careful, making sure that we don't hold on to that ball quickly. So if it's here, it's got to be a release, Hannah, to either the number 9, all right? If we want to find 8, but that's fine, but I think your first 2 options should be here. Your first option should be here to 7. That's your first option. If not, it should be to the 9. If not there, it should be to the 8. So it's got to be a quick decision there. All right. So let's say you drop it off to my 7. Well, what happens between my 6 and my 8? Well, my 9 is going to shift over. All right. My 2 is going to come up and in. My 7 is going to attack space. My 9 is shifting over. Well, my 4 and 5 come up here. My 3 and 11 are kind of getting higher, like this. And my 3, I don't want my 3 necessarily out too wide, but maybe just like that. All right? Because if we need to shift the ball over, then, we can do that quickly. Right? And you're already open and we're creating width. So what happens with my 6 and my 8? Well, I want my 6 to stay activated on this side. Now my 8 I don't necessarily want on the same side, on the same line, right? I don't want this necessarily. So it's got to be this, like that. or depending on how high we are, maybe like this. Okay, but what I can't happen is this. All right, so notice my 6 and my 8 are playing opposite sides of this middle grid, right? So we're not both over like this, we're not both over like this, we're not both up like this, and that's typically what we tend to see happen. Remember, we're playing a 3-1, okay, and then a 3 and a 1. So I just can't have my 6 and my 8 on the same line like this either, right? So it's got to be something like this. So my 6, I want to stay activated here, right? Especially because we haven't crossed, even the ball's crossed the line, but we're still in this middle zone. So we can support back here, and then, oh, this should be somewhat familiar to you, right? Hannah, you can find this long ball here and activate this 11. If not, you can find this 3 coming back here, because this 3 is going to be activated for that weak side pass here. Okay, so that should look familiar to you because we just talked about that in our demonstration of our kickoff. And if we were going to do the opposite way, it's the same thing, it's just opposite sides. My 4 and 5 needs to be here. My 3 is going to be here. My 11 is going to be here. My 9 is shifting over, getting in front of the last defender. Okay, my 6 is going to be here, and my 8 is going to be here. All right. I don't want my 8 up high necessarily because they'll have players here. That'll be a quick counterattack. So let's put you right here, and my 2 is going to be here, and my 7 is going to be here. So it's the same situation, it's just the opposite side. So we're going to go here. My 4 and 5 has 2 options. She can go through the middle, but my middle's got to spit it back out really quickly, or she can go to the outside, okay? My first preference is to the outside. Outside. Now, as that happens, my 6 needs to become available, all right? Maybe my 3 wants to punch it through the middle so that we can go back out again quickly, all right? So my 6 needs to make sure that they're moving and they're being activated here. Not necessarily here, because we don't want to scrunch us, but look where you are in relationship to the grids. Here, here, okay, here. And meanwhile, my number 8 is going to try to stay opposite. So if my 6 is here, you're here. If my 6 is to here, maybe you drop back here a little bit. I just can't have you I can't have you on the same line, right? So let's say my 3 has it. Well, my 6 is here, my 8 is here, or maybe up here. My 2 is getting in. My 7 is coming up. Now my 3 has an option, right? We have the option to go down the line to 11, or we have the option to go 6. If my 3 goes down the line, now my 11 becomes activated. So does my 9, my 6, and same situation here. My 11, you have 3 options, okay? And this is where my 8 becomes activated. My 6 is going to be in a support option here. My 8 is going to be coming up here. That's how we're doing this, okay? So as we cross the line, my 8 becomes activated here. If we're back here, my 6 is the one that's really activated, okay? So my 11 has 3 options. 1, give and go with the 9. 2, down the line to the 9. 3, get it into my 8 here, all right? Now, these players need to still be active as well. They're just not active as my 9 and my 8 are, because my 9 and my 8 are my forward options, right? And if we're going to penetrate, we want to go forward. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to force it. So if my number 11 doesn't see an option, maybe she goes back to my number 6. Okay? If that happens, my number 8 needs to make sure that she's getting open back here again, right? So again, notice the grid. So here, we can't be on the same playing field and playing side. So if my 6 gets the ball, my 8 might need to drop back here to be a support option for 6. All right?